I just want to thank everybody for coming to Syreta Talks and listening to what we have to say. I have some of my brothers in incarceration tonight, and also my brothers out here in the free world that are rocking and rolling it and showing the full potential that we are capable of. I've never had the opportunity to interview them, so I'm super excited. This is the cast of Success After Lockdown, the masterminds behind Success After Lockdown. So I want to start with Eric and then get to Anthony. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, how much time you served, and just how impactful the things that you're doing are now.
Oh wow.
Oh man, straight
That's a
out the
lot.
dog pound. Straight out the dog pound. No, but yeah, so Eric Benson. Some people call me EB. You know, I prefer EB. Used to be E Dog. We
Yeah,
took that out the
you don't want
equation.
E-Dog no more.
You know, so we don't want that no more. But I grew up in the Bronx, New York, born and raised. Colorful youth to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
So came out in the streets at the age of 12, one
Dang.
parent home. I have pops wasn't there, but I remember my mother taking me to visit him at the age of 5, 7. So I
And he
remember
was
that.
incarcerated.
Yeah, all my youth
Mhm.
that I know of. So you know, just growing up without the pops, when I look back now, I think it was destined, to for me to be where I am today.
Yeah.
So I had to go to that what's the name? I had to go through that transition in life too. You know what I mean? With growing up as a youth without a father. You know what I mean? So it was what I call normal.
Yeah.
But what's normal?
Yeah.
When we growing up in the streets, all the elders was our fathers. That's what,
Mhm.
you know what I mean. That's what we defined them as fathers, and they guided us right to those streets too. Those was my our fathers.
Yeah.
The elders guided me right to the streets. It was in the streets where, at the age of 12, I came out and started dibbing and dabbing. First, we used to, run around, go to house parties, have fun. It went from that to us selling weed. From selling weed to graduating. Selling crack, cocaine, and then going from state to state and selling drugs everywhere.
And that's the
Actually,
idea. We made it, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
this
We
is it.
arrived.
Oh,
We
We
have
made
definitely.
it.
arrived. We
The
have
dream,
arrived.
the dream was to buy a kilo.
So
You
Yeah.
made
what?
it to a kilo. If you could buy a kilo and flip it, you made it.
You made it. And so looking back now, that was that poison. That was that poison in our minds and what we was
Hmm.
feeding. We was feeding to our communities. But yeah, that's what I was. I had a colorful youth to say the least.
Yeah. And it led you towards being incarcerated, correct?
No question. So me and Anthony, we grew up together. As youth, and we went everywhere together. It didn't matter where we went. What state we went there and we made it ours. Ha ha. That's I could look back and laugh now because you know what I'm saying. We thought this in our minds. This was ours. We're going to take what's ours. You
Yeah.
know. So at that time, um, I was in another state and Anthony was in another state. I left that. We was all in the same state. I left that state and went to another state for a couple of days and never made it back home till
Wow.
till 27 years and 6 months later.
27 years and 6 months within the Department of Corrections, correct?
Yep.
Absolutely.
And let me ask you this: how old were you when you initially went to prison?
20.
20 years old. I don't even feel as though we're done developing as individuals until I feel like I didn't even make good decisions until I was in my 30s and I was already incarcerated. And I was nodding my head to, next natural progression is to get a kilo. Absolutely not. I was not Pablo Escobar. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have no problem saying that either, I was on the magnificent end of getting all the guap from individuals, or I was hoe in distress. There was no in between. And I'll sit here and talk to my friends, that have come through the drug game and everything. And they're like, yeah, I was living at, the Hilton, for months on end. Girl, boo, it wasn't always like that. However, the end of the story is fast money isn't always good money. They say it, all money isn't good money. So,
Yep.
EP, thank you. Let's get over to Anthony real quick. Anthony, pick up not where he left off, but just, you know what? And what a blessing to have your friend on the other side. On the other side.
So to piggyback
No
off
question.
that, my name is Anthony Colon. I went by the street name Scarface. I spent I spent a total of 22 and a half years in and out, did 4 bids. Like I said, me and Eric was 2 peas in a pod, run the streets, we ran it hard. Right, wherever we went, we made it ours. We took what we wanted. We demanded our respect, and we, in the process, not only did we put a lot of poison out there, we hurt a lot of people, whether it was physically, emotionally, mentally, verbally. Like we was bad, to say the least, right? And through the transition, through all that, like I think growing up, like we was never really hooked on drugs. Like with dibble and dabble. I know Eric never really messed around with no drugs. His thing was just always getting money. Me, what when he went away, as I was continuing my transition and going through the phases, like when he went away, that was like a big blow. Like we went from running the streets, going from state to state, getting money, and then we kind of like separated. He went to another state, I went to another state. While I was locking down that state, he was still claiming that state. He got locked up, and so like a part of me was just like, damn, my road dog is gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
The show must go on, right? The show must go on. I'm in the process of, let me just say this. So there's a saying that goes, the addict is always the last person to know they have a problem. So, when I was getting high, I never really knew I had a problem because I always had drugs in abundance, right? It was when the drugs were gone that I was like, what the hell is that? What am I feeling?
Yeah.
Right. So I started, dibbling and dabbling with my own drugs, in and out doing bids. Started from juvenile. I went from juvie from like 13 to 17, then came out, went in at 17 to like 18 and a half, came out, then went back in at 21 to 31, and then, back again. I just came home 6 years ago. Right. So in the process of all of this, I always knew I was a little different, and like I was built a lot different from most people in my neighborhood. Like my thing was, I want to get money. I like to find the things. I want the greater things in life, and I know how to get that, right? But I just didn't know how to retain it and keep it in the right positive way.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter where I went, what state I went to, I always took Anthony Scarface with me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came home from my 10-year bid, I moved out to Philadelphia, and within 3 months, got right back into it in Philadelphia. My drug addiction got me to the point, I got hooked on drugs out there. My drug addiction took me to a dark place in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of people don't know this, but here's the addict mentality of me, and this is why I take my recovery very serious, right?
Mm-hmm.
That how you hear people when they talk about they're addicted to drugs, like they wanted to kill themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I've literally shot myself intentionally so I can have an excuse and a reason to tell my parole officer why I had opiates in my system. Like I planned
What?
like 3 days, like planned the whole thing out, shot myself in my arm, and because I had to make it believable, right?
Mhm.
Um, got violated, went to Greater State Prison. From there, luckily I
So
not.
from shooting yourself in the arm, it didn't work.
No, I still got violated.
So you shot yourself in the arm for that's terrible.
For
Okay,
no reason.
continue.
For no reason.
Yeah,
I
for
could
no reason.
I
Okay.
could I could have jammed the finger and went to the hospital and said,
Yeah,
Yes.
this is how of a dark space that I was
that's the
at.
mentality.
Right?
Yes.
After
Wow.
doing 10 years, I was just did 10 years and I went in with a 3-year sentence and I
Oh,
did 10. So that goes to show you that my mentality where it was at. And then, I moved down to Florida. And like I was saying, I knock on wood that I always had good parole officers. I gotta say that. Like they
Mhm.
always saw potential in me when I never saw them. Even in the Bronx, I had a parole officer, you know, uh, she maxed me out early when I caught my new one, just so I don't get that hit with the top of the violation. She's
hmm.
like, I'm gonna finagle the paperwork so that way it shows that you got maxed out 2 months ago instead of what you got a violation while it didn't case. And same thing in Philly. Parole officer pulled me to the side and said, listen, man, I'm signing your papers off. Get out of here. You're gonna die. I came to
Oh,
Florida. And that brought me with Florida. Then I wound up getting into the white collar crime. And again, I did 5 years in the feds in the state. I've been home now 6 years. I'm 49 years old. I'm married. I have a 12-year-old daughter. I have grandkids. My wife and I own residential mental health facilities owned down here in Florida. Uh, we also have our hands in a couple other little businesses and stuff like that. We invest. Uh, I became a homeowner, productive member of my society, and life is freaking good now. And so
that's right.
Absolutely.
when Eric came home after that 27 and a half years, this is how go. This is how day one from day one, right?
Yeah, this is what I want to know.
We got
Yeah.
separated from that time. So you take two peas in a pot that was just always knew nothing but violence, drug, and chaos.
Hmm.
Separated for 27 and a half years. We connected. And it wasn't about trying to impress one another with how bad and tough we was, what I'm saying, and how we still want to be thugs, right? Throughout this whole transition. We was able to talk like men. And so
And talk about our rehabilitation.
right? And so when
Absolutely.
Eric started talking about his transition and where he's at in life and how this 27 and a half years, changed his mind. I was like, man, like that's the wavelength I'm on now. And it's sad reality that a lot of our friends are still stuck back in them 80s and 90s, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
Ain't nothing
yeah.
wrong about them. We love them to death, but right, life is about growth and development. It's about trials and errors. It's about learning from your mistakes and growing and
What
one part of life.
wasn't it just like so satisfying and a blessing to have someone who knew you before, like I said, and they see you now for who you are? Like, my sister,
Abs-
when I was in incarcerated, I used to always be like, man, my little sister, which now she's like 38, she still runs with people that we knew in middle school. You know what I'm saying? Like they are still very close, been in her wedding, da 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 da. Da. So when I got on Facebook, slowly they started like they were like Syreta, because we were so close in age. We used to always, me and my little sister, and it was like, dang, now I got those friends. Now I have those friends that stayed on the right job. We had a Ford plant, and if you got that job at the Ford plant, you were good to go. So all the Ford plant people moved on, got degrees and stuff now, and now I'm out here doing good, and it's a good feeling. And it also goes to show, and I want to talk about this a little bit, that when you go away, uh, you get to decide who you come out and be. And the majority,
Absolutely.
I want to err on the side of positivity, think that we're going to come out and do the best we can and make an impact and make a change. And all three of us are examples of that. So tell me a little bit, either one of you, about how you came up with success after lockdown and how joyful that experience was for both of you.
No, absolutely. So listen, I like I tell everybody I went up north without a GED. I always knew I was smart. When I did go to school, I always bust my tests out. I did everything, I'm supposed to do, but
And
the
still be on the
streets,
block at lunchtime.
no question. The streets, I gravitated towards the streets more. But when I went up north, first thing I did was go through introspection within myself. I
Mm.
tell everybody this all the time. I was tired. I was tired of being tired. You heard?
Yep.
So what I mean by that is we was everywhere, like different states. Every state I had a girl, a main girl every state. Like the heavy load on your shoulders with that, and then being a cheater, and you know what I'm saying, and then you got to watch out for the stick up kids, then you got to watch out for the police, then you got to watch out for your own too. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like it was just a lot when I came up, and they gave me 25 years to life for taking a young man's life. He was 20, just like me, didn't deserve to die. You know, and I knew he didn't deserve to die because when it went down, it was senseless. But I let my pride get in the way. You jump my man's, and then you came at me when I tried to resolve it. So that just had me with rage. Like, are you
Mm.
serious? You really don't know me. You're gonna find out. And that mentality, that distorted value system that I
Mm-hmm.
like to call it. We all grow up with that distorted value system that we have.
Street code.
And no question. And that was, that I wanted to shed all of that. Not There was no books, nothing. When I came through and I locked myself in, I began to lock myself in. I said, yo, listen, I just said enough is enough.
Hmm.
So I had to evaluate those years, those small, tiny years from 12 to 20. I was in the streets. You know what I'm saying? From 12 years old to 20. Who lived? I haven't even lived. You
No,
know what I
you
mean?
never
Still
really
a
had a
baby.
chance to mature the right way. That
Yeah,
distorted value system. I've
that's
never
what I
heard
call it.
that. And let me tell you, that's just next level because we're
No
raised up
question.
that way. We're from the same generation with that music that we were listening to. It was just getting real popular. Everybody had beat in their car. And it's like you put these soundtracks down and they're the soundtracks to your life. It's
Oh,
another murder,
absolutely.
it's another 187. And every song was about getting women, getting money, or you know what I'm saying, or killing
We
somebody.
don't realize how strong our environment is when it
And that's
comes to
yeah,
when it
that's a mental
comes to
health issue.
distorting our system. No question about it.
Junk
And
in,
so
junk out.
that's
If
right.
you
And so
listen
when
to
I went
junk,
through,
and
yep,
here's
go
another
ahead,
thing. You just said
say
earlier
it.
that the role models in your neighborhood, which was Anthony's neighborhood too, were quick to guide you down the wrong path with their own distorted value system. Anthony, what do you think about that? Did you have a father in the home, or were there people that were influencing you to do the
So,
wrong thing?
so first of all, let's just say this: we grew up in the uptown of the Bronx, right, where Barbara Walters went back there in the '80s and compared our borough, neighborhood, community, if you want to call it that,
Mhm.
compared it to Vietnam.
Wow.
Imagine that you
Absolutely.
in a city block, and in that whole city block where you should probably have 12 to 14 buildings, that's only one, and the rest is rubble. Look like bombs just went off.
This is
And
in
that
the
was on
80s?
world news.
80s.
Yeah, that was on the world news. Barbara Walters
So think
ran that
about it.
special.
You growing up in a broken home, living on public assistance, on waiting for that check on the third for your family to get that check on the third. You know, nobody had no guidance, had no job, no education. That's how I grew up. I grew up in a broken home. Yes,
Mhm.
I had my mother, um, my three brothers, and my sister. They was all hooked on drugs. I had my stepfather who played the role as my father. My biological was around. He would come and see my brothers and my sister, but never acknowledge me, never, not once. Like he would just look at me like I didn't even exist.
Hmm.
So already I had this. this demeanor, like if my own biological can't accept me, who the F is?
Yeah.
Right? So who accepted me, who embraced me, who looked out for me, who sheltered me? Yes, my stepfather, may he rest in peace, Peter. But the block, when I went on that block, I was the little brother that everybody like, nah.
Took in.
Yeah, I mean, like I just had that mentality. I was, I'm the youngest out of all my siblings, but my mind was a lot more mature than a lot of people older than me and my own siblings. So I gravitated to what I yearned for. I yearned for that attention. I yearned for that brotherly love. I yearned
Mhm.
for that father figure to give me some guidance and not a knife every time he came home to tell me to go protect myself and use it at any cost necessary, right? Like that was my, it was always every day, here's a knife. My mother would take it, come the next day, here's another knife. So I already grew up. I was being coached into a violent world.
Mm-hmm. You're being
Right?
primed. And
I
I
was
really want to say that
without
growing up in poverty is a it's an illness in itself. Like that gives you the mindset like, man, I just want to make it and I want to make it no matter how I got to do it.
and then on top of that, like my birthday is December 18th. And
That's my
again,
son's birthday.
oh wow, he must be an amazing half man, half amazing.
He definitely is. Yeah, go
so,
ahead, Anthony.
so so like imagine, right? My mother living on food stamps and she gets it on the third of the month. I never had a birthday. To this day, I don't celebrate my birthdays.
Why not?
Traumatized the birthday because I never had one as
Yeah.
a kid. My wife tries, and I may let it, but like when it comes to my birthday, I just rather like
So that pain is still with you.
it's still there.
The
Now this
pain
year,
of being
my 50th,
impoverished.
but in my 50th this year, I plan to go big and do something special for myself.
Good,
But
good.
besides the point, like that trauma, right? That trauma, that depression, that anxiety that we grew up with in an area that we don't even know how to identify it. All we want is to be like a battered woman who just wants someone to actually care about them, to hold,
Hmm.
to protect them, to shield them, to give them some understanding, to give them some type of guidance, right?
Yeah,
And we don't care where we're getting it from. That's all we
right.
want. And so,
And,
like,
and I really feel like even though you can try the hardest, if you are impoverished, that equals neglect. Like you as a young man, you never had a birthday. So through this neglect, and I always like it when I'm able to participate on Success After Lockdown because you take a moment for mental health. And I really feel like this a lot of the people that they profile that reoffend, that are recidivists, is because I'm sure you can attest when you go to prison or when you're put into the prison system, they'll throw you on some medications, they'll do, but you're never going to receive counseling. You're going to have to do the introspection, like Eric said, and heal yourself. And there's still, like I still have a long way to go. Therapy, all of that, and I realize the importance. However, I also realize this too, that it's on me. I don't have the
That's
desire
right.
to go into corrections, even
that
though I'm
that
still on
that
parole. Maybe
that that part right there, and so that's what separates us, right? This is what separate the built for tough, as I like to say, or the you want to be a victim your whole life,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
it's like I can sit here, I can feel sorry for myself, I can still play the victim, and I can say the poor me and stay hooked on drugs and still make poor choices, or I can take accountability and say, you know what, it wasn't my fault. It doesn't have to be my reality. I do have the power to change. I just got to take the steps to make those changes because everybody's waiting on something to happen. Go out there and
Yeah.
make it happen.
And let me say this: while I was incarcerated, that was me. That I began to create that mentality for myself. That listen, I could sit here and cry. I'm learning my history, and I could cry about this person bringing in drugs and this person bringing in guns because we not the maker. We not the owner, the maker of them drugs and those guns, but they in our community, right?
mhm,
So I could sit there and cry about it that they did this to us, they did this to me, or I could do what I did And what I did was I said, I'm going to engulf myself with education. I'm going to engulf myself with learning about corporate America. So I
Mm-hmm.
went in there without a GED and I came out with my master's degree. You know what I mean?
Right.
And while doing that, I came out with all the tools. I just was putting the tools on my toolkit on my belt. I was
Uh-huh.
doing everything from welding. I got my welders and my arc weld, I TIG and I MIG weld. You know, I got my certificate in computer repair. I tailor too. So we used to make the prison clothes. So I
Wow.
worked in the tailor shop for 9 years. You know, I also got my legal research management certification. So I worked in the law library for 13 years, you know, and in prison, while in prison. And I also received my food handler certification. You know, I went to the mess hall for 2 years, and because you know when I cook, it comes natural. Be quiet, Anthony, because we have a war here. You know,
Okay.
on cooking contest or
Long
something. Don't
standing
say it.
battle.
Don't say it. So I learned when I started cooking. Look. I told myself, listen. I noticed that I was in honor block, right? This was an honor setting. When you do
Mm-hmm.
good in prison and you don't get no infractions, you could go to a block where you got a stove.
Oh,
You get a little bit more room. You get a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit more openness. And so when I first went there and I started cooking in the 90s, dudes was like, damn, what's this? Eh? You know, so now I'm saying, hold on. I could I don't want to be out there in the yard selling drugs no more. I don't want to be, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to do this drug thing no more, man. I'm finished. I was tired. It was like a load of bricks lifted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the girls, you know, this girl, that girl. I don't want the multiple, you know, I don't want that no more. And so I went out there to the yard because we had cooking courts in this place called Clinton Correctional Facility. You could go to the yard and you could cook on the courts. And I started
Wow.
making fish and cheese patties, like the beef patties. I started making
Yeah.
them with fish, onions, and peppers and cheese in there, and I
The
sell
Jack
them
Mac.
three patties. That's right, the Jack Mac, 3 patties and a soda for a pack of Newports, and
I
that's
used
how I
doing it.
made my money. And
Yeah.
then I went to another facility and I was in the honor block setting, and then I created my own company called B&B, Breakfast in Bed. I would bring you breakfast to bed in your bed when you
Okay.
wake up in the morning. Know what I mean? So I begin to, you know, do these things with the mindset of preparation, of coming home
Entrepreneurship right
and
there.
Yes,
staying
I
home.
like it because guess what? We went out there and got after it to go get high, or got after it to go get a new car, got after it to make sure that you had money in your pocket and could do whatever you want and be a big deal. So then when you go to jail, you have to transcend all those skills to actually do good. And I used to tell women when I was inside, like, they'd be like, oh my God, Syreta, you know, like you're always, you know, talking about God. Da, da, da. I said, because, you know, unbeknownst to me, I was a soldier for Satan. I was, and I was out there working hard for him. So now that I'm following the right path, I'm gonna work hard for the Lord, and I'm gonna put Him first, and I'm gonna do what He tells me. But all of that energy
That's right.
and wherewithal that I put into doing the bad things, I sure made sure through introspection, through taking accountability, to get out here and put all that strength and energy into doing the next right thing, so I can help the people that I left behind. So I like that entrepreneurship journey. I had a little something like that, but you know, we're not going to talk about running stores and stuff like that because they don't like that.
Right.
They don't like
Yeah,
it at all.
that was illegal too. It was
Yeah,
illegal
yeah,
in
they
prison.
don't like that.
You can't have your own business. But
Right.
that was
Yes.
my way of sustaining, you know,
Mm-hmm.
myself financially
No, I'm
without
saying
having
I
to
ran one
ask
too.
the
I'm just not
family.
going to talk about it.
That's right. That's right. You know what I'm
Because
saying?
I was never actively caught, but still at the same time, it's because we use our resources. You know, we're not selling drugs, we're not doing
That's right.
anything. I used
And
to,
the police the COs respected us for that.
yes,
You know what I'm
yes.
saying?
Because we're
Yeah.
just out here trying. But I'm saying the same energy that you, and here's, I really like this too. Instead of playing the blame game, and I used to tell people all the time, like, I got a lot of time. I did 14 and a half years, as everybody that watches knows, I did 14 and a half years in Chillicothe Correctional Center. And I'd be like, man, you know, it's like you like you're, you know, sea walking this time. And I'm like, because I know that I committed my crime. And you know what I'm saying? There might have been extenuating circumstances, but at the end of the day, I did it. I never lied to anybody. So I wasn't doing hard time. When you make excuses the whole time you're there
Mm.
and you never take accountability. Now, do I feel like I should have got that much time? No. But at the end of the day, I knew one day I was going to be out.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that somebody wasn't walking this earth. Just like Eric said, you got real with yourself and you realized that your pride got in the way. And I realized that I had plenty of opportunities before then to move on and do something different, but I kept coming back. So I might not have had a choice in that moment, but for years going through it with this man, I could have moved on. I could have done something different, but I didn't.
Mm.
Mm.
And I think that to circle back and like I said, that's the nail on the head, right? Take accountability, responsibility for your action, right, and push forward, right.
Mhm.
Uh, and so back to the original question that you was asking about success after lockdown. When Eric came home, here's the funny stuff. Here's the ironic stuff. So at the time, I was I wanted to work on some documentaries.
Mhm.
Um, and a childhood friend of ours, Arthur Jones, worked for 106 in Park. Grew up with us, and he was the producer for
Wow.
106 in Park, and he did like the Big Brother show and stuff like that. And me and him was in contact and stuff like that. And I was telling him, I was like, man, I want to do a documentary, like what that looks like. Also, by the way, I was talking about, taking my book and turning my book into a movie, right?
Tell us what name of the book. Tell us the name.
Doug's
Tell us
Revenge,
about it.
Coward's Nightmare. Doug's Revenge, Coward's Nightmare. But so he was like, well, who do you want to do a documentary on? I was like, yeah, I think we should really do a documentary on Eric. I
Oh.
wanted to do a documentary on Eric because I wanted to show, because again, I know Eric. I know the type of person he was when we was kids. And like, if you knew E Dog, put it this way, if you knew E Dog, you knew E Dog wasn't a person you ain't want to play with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you test the waters, you gonna fuck around and find out real quick. And I was like, man, but where he's at now, and like I'm so proud of him, and I always looked up to him even when we were doing negative, and I looked up to him now, and now it's like I think this would be a powerful story. So we got all linked up together, and Eric's like, I want to do this thing, like success after lockdown.
Yeah.
It was like bing, light bulb, bing. And like, so we were supposed to originally take Success After Lockdown to create a pilot show to put on TV.
Nice. Well,
And
let
we
me on when you
and we
get it.
still will.
Yeah, that's what
Right?
I'm saying.
And so we was like recording a lot of content. We still recording content. But in the mix of it, look how God works. One of his mentor, Julio Medina, who is the founder of Exodus Transition and Community Services
Yeah.
and in New York and Harlem, we connected with him, and he's like, guys, I have a studio that y'all can use whenever y'all want to do
Oh,
a podcast.
nice.
And so the birth of
Yeah.
the Success After Lockdown
Success after
podcast
lockdown.
born, right?
How long ago?
3 years. We're on season 3.
Nice.
Yep.
And
Nice.
so since then, we persevere, we push through, we show up, we travel. I love it. I don't think I love what I do, my purpose, but like this here, because we're the underdog story, right? We're
Yeah.
the ones that nobody want to talk on. Like before we went on the air, we was talking about like for
Mm-hmm.
us, formerly
Yeah.
incarcerated, we have to work 3 times harder than your average Joe.
Mm-hmm.
We have to work 3 times harder and be more diligent than the dude that never been to jail before. Why?
Yeah.
Because no one's gonna come and give you a pat on the back and say, "Hey, good job, ex-con."
Yeah, not at all. And we can be 3 times more qualified.
But the first time you mess up, you know what they ready to say, right?
I
Yeah.
told you so.
Told you so. That piece of ass, he's just a common criminal. It wasn't going to change.
Just a
So,
matter of time.
so
Oh man.
having the opportunity to show the world and society that it's okay. I own me being a formerly incarcerated. When I came home, people told me I couldn't buy a house in a gated community. I bought the second largest house in here. People say, Anthony, don't put your name on the business because no one's gonna, respect you or send people to you with your background. My name is on the businesses. So everything what people kept telling me what I can't do because of my background, I cut them off and just kept it moving and said, I will show you better. Now tell me what else I can't do.
That's
Right?
right.
I'd be the first one to tell a person in a meeting in a board meeting with multimillionaires that, hey, I'm not the smartest person in this room,
Mhm.
but I'm the hardest working person in this room. And I put that on God. When I go hard. The same way I did when I sold drugs, the same
That's
way
right.
when I did drugs, the same way everything I did negatively, I did it like my life depended on it.
Mhm.
That's
Now
right.
I got a great opportunity. I got life. I don't have no drugs in my system. I got a beautiful wife. I have a beautiful daughter who never seen me smoking, never seen me drugged up, never
No.
seen me high, never seen anything. To her eyes, I'm like the greatest dad in the whole world, except for when
That's
I'm
right.
too sick, right? I got a wife that's down with me that no matter what, she's my biggest fan, right? She pushes me, she motivates me, she inspires me. Is it perfect? No. But I know without a shadow of a doubt that if she didn't say I love you, I know she loves me. Like she don't
That's
have
right.
to remind me every day. Like I know
Mhm.
that my darkest hour, my deepest desperate moment, if I had one phone call to make, I called her, I could count on that.
It's a
So,
good thing to know someone would answer
and you
because I have a past with drugs too. And when you're out there on drugs, you basically isolate, or everybody isolates themselves from you. So just to
Mm-hmm.
have that network and know that, hey, I've made it to the point where people actually care about me. I care about myself. I show up when I'm supposed to show up. I do the things that I'm supposed to do. I mean, and that's a feeling. And Eric, you didn't have that past, but here's another thing: you got to in prison that same skill set. I want to say that I got to show up for myself. I
yeah,
can't let this environment, because an addiction of drugs is a prison. But a prison, and people are like, "There's prisons out here." I was in a prison of my mind. Okay, well, I wasn't in a prison of my mind because I could get out of that. Because
right,
I had changed and was ready to go home didn't mean it was time for me. I got to go home because I was ready to go after. Listen, I was ready to go day one, but
That's
but was
right.
I ready to
That's
go?
right.
Probably about 8 years in, I was ready to go. I was redeemed. It was time for me to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I
yeah,
had to redeem
Absolutely.
myself, not over being a violent criminal, because you don't wake up one day and say, "Ooh, I'm gonna go kill somebody today." That's not how
Yeah.
that works.
no,
That happens in an instant. But was I redeemed from drugs, alcohol, that mentality in my mind that I needed everything given to me just because of the way I carried myself? You should just give it to me. No, I was willing to work for it. And I learned these things while I was in prison. I knew them before, but I let the world get in the way. So,
no,
Eric, tell me some of the skills, because being in prison requires a skill set. You already told us about how you found ways to survive monetarily. You already told us how you found ways to make your mind. So, all those skills, tell us about them. Tell us and how
Yeah.
you had to
So
fight for them, because I know you had to fight to get in those programs.
first, let me say this. I feel the same way Anthony feel about the missus, about the wife. She ain't got to tell me every day, but you sure better tell me every day.
Oh,
All right,
that's
that's all I
sweet.
got to say. To that you ain't got to, but you better. She's seeing this. She gonna see this.
hold on, hold
But
that shoe. I think I just saw a shoe fly by.
yeah, but now growing up in there, I surrounded myself with men that were into change. So what I mean by that is I found those old timers that were in there for 13, 15 years before I came in that
Mhm.
were making a difference in the community. What I
That's right.
mean is in the population, in the prison population, that were creating classes. And that's what I wanted. And that's what I fell into. I began to take self-help therapeutic classes, and I began to facilitate them. So I became a facilitator for HIV and AIDS. I learned about HIV and AIDS and became a facilitator, and I was teaching HIV and AIDS. And then I began to create a class called Fatherhood and Mentoring. And so that's what I did. You know, a group of us. It wasn't just myself. It was me and a group of men. You know, we also we sent letters to the senators in New York City, and they came in and they seen us and they were so impressed with us. You know, we got the population to donate money to us, you know, to create a gun buyback program in New York City because
Nice.
we all were from New York City. And
Mhm.
they seen we raised like $10,000, and they were so impressed that each of the senators and the clergy people that was there, they matched our money that we
Oh,
raised,
that's
you
wonderful.
know, and a gun
Yeah.
buyback program was born on our behalf, you know, under the limited space that we had, you know, like
Making
Anthony
change.
said, now I'm well within 15 years of my time now, and I'm sitting back and I begin to see Love After Lockdown and Love and Hip Hop. And so, you know, I'm looking at these things and I'm saying, wow. I'm also seeing a whole lot of brothers go home and come back to the facility and come back under our graduations that we used to have, college graduations. We used to also have, you know, festivals, and they come back for festivals and talk on behalf of going home and staying home. And I said, wow, they inspired me so much. You know, I used to always say, when I go home, I'm gonna do that. I'm
That's right.
coming back and I'm gonna show the men that, you know what I'm saying, that we ain't go nowhere. We just staying out here though. You know what I mean? But so when I came home, I seen Anthony, you know, and that's the first person I got in touch with when I came home. And so, you know, after he shared with me his journey and his transition, I'm like, wow, look at us now, man.
That's
like
right.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we got a lot. And I remember when he first started, and he had I think it was 4 beds. He had one house.
Yeah.
And look at him now. Know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
You know what I mean? I think
Anthony,
he
tell
got
us a
over.
little bit about your houses, if you don't
Talk
mind.
about it, man. How
Yeah.
many? Tell the
We
people,
actually had a
man.
conversation before we came on live, and
Mm,
Anthony was telling me that his residents or the people that are living in these homes are like his kids.
it
You
Yes.
know,
is, and
they're
he
like
take care of them.
family.
I
Tell
I
us a little
stood in
bit.
Florida with him for 4 days, and I just shadowed him on his day-to-day operations, and I'm so proud of him, and just him and what he's doing to those for those mental health people, man, that they don't see a lot of people that open their arms wide the way he opened it for them. You know what I mean? And so that right there inspires me
Me
every
too.
day to being the best person that I can be. I go
Yeah.
to him for all type of advice. You know, I thought I was the big brother, but you know what I mean? He is, because I'm still in learning process. I'm still in transition process. So sometimes I might get a little over myself. I gotta call in, and he like, look at it like this, bro. Look, take it back up a little, and then I gotta, breathe a couple of, But yeah, man, talk about that, man,
Yeah.
because that's very
Please.
important, man, for what you're
So
doing.
the flowers really go to my wife, to be honest. The flowers go to my wife. So we both come from a background working in the industries of substance abuse and alcohol abuse. And my wife struggles with her own mental health. And she got her career job for a mental health hospital that yet had opened up out here called Coral Shores. And
Mhm.
she came home one day. I remember, I will never forget. She came home one day after this was her dream career job. Take a woman that was addicted to drugs that couldn't get herself together for no more than 30 days, like literally transformed her life. And I was the director of admissions for a treatment center at the time, and we're still trying to figure things out, trying to live paycheck to paycheck. And she comes to me crying one day, and of course, the husband and me thought somebody, and I'm like, for a second, all rationale went out the window. I'm like, yo, what happened? Who did something to you? And she was just crying, and I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I can't do this no more. And I'm thinking, what did I do? Like, What do you mean you can't do this no more? Like, you want to break up? She's like, no, stupid, Billy, stop. And I'm like, I'm saying, you're saying, what can't you do? Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, this job, babe. She said, it's breaking my heart that I keep helping families get their loved ones help. But after they get stabilized, they got nowhere to go. The families can't maintain them. They can't take care of themselves, the family, their livelihood, and pay the bills and watch their loved one 24/7. We need to open up a house for mental health. We already had a halfway house, for women, for drugs and
Oh
alcohol.
yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Right. So we had already opened up our first halfway house for women. And I was like, mental health, like, babe, that's crazy. That's the shit, like, babe, there's none out here. And I was like, there's gotta be a reason why. Like, you want to put a bunch of people with mental health in a house, like, man, what is someone, and she's like, and she believed it so much. She's like, listen, if you love me, we're gonna do this. And so I was like, so I talked to, one of my other brothers down here, Gerard. He's like my big brother too from the BX.
Big up to Gerard.
Yeah, and
BX all
yeah,
day, every day.
all day. So we sat down and we put this vision together. My wife was the creative mind behind it. I was, the hands on. I know how to run a business. I know how to get things done. And we opened our
Big
first.
up to Jackie.
Yeah, we opened our first house. It was 7 beds. 3 days before the grand opening, my wife's reputation in the industry out here is second to none. Like, everybody knows her integrity in this business. So when she did the treatment centers, no, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do your mental health, no substance, no alcohol, your such. Send me the craziest of the craziest that you have, and like, this is what we're going to do. And me and my big boy Gerard, we took turns sleeping in this house as our own security and our own staff members, because we couldn't afford. We didn't know what to expect. And we was taking turns sleeping on the couch, and I'm laying on the couch with one eye open. Like, then I had a guy that all night was walking back and forth, smoking cigarettes back and forth, talking to himself, and
Yeah.
in the mix of all that, I found compassion. I literally found the purpose. I found people who
That needed you.
excuse me, like, I fell in love with a bunch of beautiful minds. Like, that was like, and I kept saying to myself, like, I wish that I could transform and see what's inside their mind. Like, who are they talking to? What are they talking? Like, what are they responding to?
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it just grew. It just grew. My passion, it started out as a business, but it became our purpose. And I had ex NFL football players. I had celebrity stars. I've had all of them. I had CEOs. I had rich people, poor people. I had people 6'8", 370 pounds. Look at you, and people will be scared, and I just connected with them, no matter what state of mind they was in. God allowed me to be able to connect with them, to get that 5-second window of clarity in a distorted mind
I love it.
and connect.
Yeah.
So one house turned into two turned into now 14. 7 beds turned into 14. Now it's 96. No company was the 4-company vehicle. Like, we turned
That's right.
the idea and the vision into a safe haven for people struggling with mental health. And I don't care whether it's schizophrenia or depression. We take them all. We don't discriminate. We love every one of them. And people ask us, how do you become so successful? You guys making so much money. You guys are living the dream. And I'm like, you see the money. Y'all don't see the work. Right? If you're looking at the money, this ain't for you. Right?
Yeah. Because you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Exactly. And people ask, how do y'all do it? And the secret to our success is simply this. And I tell everybody, we love every resident like they was our own kid.
Sounds like you're that father figure,
If you're, and then to the
that
woman,
brother.
and then to the men and the women in my home, I
That's
have
right.
men and women. They
That's
all
right.
look at me as an uncle, a father, a big brother, and like I tell every one of them, I love you every day. I hug them, I sit with them, I hang out with them, I go to the movies with them, I take them bowling, I take them to the equine. Like we spend time, celebrate family holidays, we spend it with our family and them. Like
Love it.
it's a God thing,
Amen.
filming. And I to say to people like stop the stigma, stop judging what you don't know. Let's change the dynamics of how we view people in human lives and how we refer to people with a mental illness. Like, growing up, we always talked about, if a person was crazy, that was a good thing. That was like a badge of honor. Crazy
Mhm.
man. He was a stand up person. He was a no nonsense person. But now, dealing, it's just, man, it just fills my heart. There's days, like I tell you, I come in here, I'm just flustered sometimes. I leave my house every morning at 7 a.m. Some nights I don't get to back home to 10, right? And that's because I sit down with every one of my residents. I'm running around. I'm making sure they get their medication. I'm making sure they got everything they need. Most importantly, I'm making sure that they have the time of day to feel that they could talk to someone and listen.
And that's why I created this vision. That's why I had this vision that I created with Success After Lockdown, because that's Anthony's story is a prime example of
Yeah.
being successful in your own right. You know what I mean? We're not talking about the riches. We ain't talking about the money. We talking about in your own right having success, to come from where he came from to where he's at now. And that's why when we both got together, we both said we're gonna look for Syreta Tolson, and we found her. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? We
yes.
found her.
Well,
That's what
I get
that's why
it.
we do what we do. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
that's what we want to highlight and showcase, because now we realize that we are the reason. When you look all over the state and you see that recidivism rate going down in
Hmm.
your state, it's because of you and I. It's
And the
because of formerly
conversation.
incarcerated men
That's
and women
right.
like ourselves. We
And,
putting the
Yes.
work in. We
and,
We have
because we're not going back there.
Yeah, we
and
this is a voice that needs to be that needs to be heard. The compassion that you're learning, the people that you're helping. And here's another reason that I like having these conversations, because Anthony, you would have been a recidivist. You would have been the back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Look at you in the institute, the change that you're instituting, and the ripple effect of all the lives you're affecting. Not only those 99 people, but their families and the community and everyone where they came from is affected positively. Eric, this show affected positively. So wrap us on out and get us out of here. And I can't wait to have you guys back on.
I,
But I
I
just
would
want to
want to
leave
say,
before I
listen,
say anything else and say this is what we do.
yeah.
This is what we do. Anthony, tell
And,
us.
and I just want to say thanks to you. And like Eric said, like, listen, we're out here, people.
Yeah.
Like, own up, take accountability. It's okay if you made a mistake.
Mhm.
It's okay that you went to prison, but it's not okay to stay with the same mentality that took you in. I'm working on a book right now called Incarcerated Freedom.
Mhm.
Now, you mentioned something earlier that someone said, well, I've been incarcerated in my mind out here in freedom. Right?
Mhm.
And yes, we know that when the addiction of the drug. What I'm saying is that as an individual, we all have the ability, the propensity, the drive, and the power to make the change we want to be. It's who are you surrounding yourself with?
That's
What are you
right.
putting in between here? What are you looking at that's either going to propel you up or keep you right here? And I tell people that I have no quarrels about this. I surround myself with people that are doing better than myself. I
Mhm.
surround myself with people that are smarter than myself. I surround myself with people that have something to show for their life that I can go through with guidance, right? Because that's what I want to be. If I stay hanging out with a person talking about nothing in the corner and the drugs and the BS, that's exactly where I'm going to stay at. Surround yourself with the people that you want to be like, so that way you can get out of that grip of that hole. You owe nobody nothing. You don't owe those old friends nothing that still want to stay on the corner with a 40 ounce, smoking a blunt, talking all this riff-raff stuff. You owe them nothing. You want to stay there? By all means, I'll see you on the flip side. Peace out. God bless. Stay up.
That's
But
right.
I'm out of this.
Yeah, and listen, you said it all. He said it all. Sarita said it all too.
Yeah.
What I'm going to say is be on the lookout for the Success After Lockdown docu series,
Ooh.
as well as Success After Lockdown reality series.
Check out my
Just
story.
be on the lookout.
Check out my
Be-
docu-series on
Transitions,
transformation.
Okay.
transformation,
By Anthony Cologne.
Ooh, well, I'm so
transformation.
super excited about the docu-series.
Go
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
and I'm excited to finally have you all on my show because I've been on your show a couple of times, and it
Are
just
you a
is
part
so
of our
exciting.
show? What are you talking about?
Huh?
Sarita talks. Sarita talks.
You're like the
That's
breakfast,
right.
you're like Angela G. Yee.
Oh,
Yeah,
listen,
you are
listen.
Success After Lockdown on the show too. God
You know
bless.
what? What an encouraging experience. And just like he said, I want to leave on the note of David Strumpf, my dear friend in town that fortunately passed away. But before he left out of my life, he told me, Syreta, surround yourself with the circle of excellence. Everyone in your circle who is around you has something to offer, and it's more than what you have. So, Anthony, EB, thank you for offering more than what I had, and I appreciate you. Take care.
And we appreciate you. Peace and blessings.
We appreciate you, sister. Have a good one.